I have his dream landing spot being the Bears. He's a pure edge rusher. He'd be a really good pair with Montez Sweat. He's a dynamic pass rusher. Today, we are going to be talking top 10 defensive prospects in this year's NFL draft. We're going to pick a dream landing spot for them and then a realistic spot. Let's start with the best pure defensive player in this class. That's Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State. He's your classic day one starter, defensive end that's going to boost any defense in the league. Now, I think dream spot for Abdul Carter is going to be the Giants at number 3. Obviously, the Giants need help all over the place. I do think that New York ends up getting Travis Hunter at 3, but it really depends on what the Browns do at number 2. So if Cam Ward goes number 1, if the Browns take Jahdae Sanders, then New York's probably going Travis Hunter. But say the Browns end up getting Travis Hunter, then Abdul Carter would make sense for New York. Realistically, I think he lands at the Patriots at number 4. You can see that Mike Vrabel's already put a lot into boosting this defense in the offseason. And then you add in a guy like Abdul Carter with Carlton Davis. I think that this is going to be a really good spot for him for New England. That's where I see Abdul Carter going. Speaking of the Giants, speaking of Travis Hunter, let's talk about him. Cornerback, wide receiver out of Colorado. I have his dream landing spot and realistic spot being the Giants at number 3. Now, things get interesting. If Cleveland decides to not go with Jahdae Sanders, then the Browns are probably taking Travis Hunter. But if I'm Travis Hunter, I'd rather drop a spot and end up in a situation with New York under Brian Daboll. Daboll has talked endlessly about how they would utilize Travis Hunter both ways as a wide receiver and as a cornerback. And Travis Hunter, being the star that he is, I think he'd be a perfect fit for New York. It's a big franchise. There's a lot of media attention, and he'd have a day one impact. He'd be the best cornerback on the team, and he'd be a great fit with Malik Neighbors. They also have Troy Brown, remember, the offensive assistant who actually played both on defense and on offense. So I think that there'd be a lot of learning experiences that Travis Hunter could get from going to a team like New York instead of going to Cleveland that, let's be honest, is always a mess. Okay, let's talk Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. I have his dream landing spot being the Jags, also his realistic spot being the Jags. He's that day one starter. He's a relentless, high motor, leadership kind of guy. And look at the Jags interior defensive line. Terrible. They were bottom 3rd according to PFF last season. Their top 2 guys weren't even good. They need help at this position. And then you look at the fit that Mason Graham would be with the Jags, I think really good. He's a 3-technique defensive tackle, works well in a 4-3 scheme, which fits really well with the Jags defensive scheme. Liam Cohen's coming in, not only the pressure of making Trevor Lawrence good and fixing this offense, but they have to boost the defense. I think Mason Graham would be a perfect fit. Next, let's talk Jalen Walker, the edge rusher out of Georgia. When I look at Jalen Walker, I see a Patriots linebacker. I see a Jamie Collins type of guy, a guy that can drop into coverage. He can line up as an edge rusher. He can blitz from the interior. He is the perfect fit for Mike Vrabel's defense. You don't think Vrabel would love the versatility that Walker brings? Now, unfortunately, I don't think that this works out unless the Browns move off of Jahdae and go and get Travis Hunter. So here's how Walker actually ends up on New England. You'd have to have maybe Cam Ward number 1, number 2, the Browns take Travis Hunter, number 3, the Giants take Abdul Carter, and then boom, Walker's left for the Patriots at 4. But realistically, if Abdul Carter's still on the board, Vrabel's taking Carter because he's just a better player. And then we see Walker probably land with Carolina, but I would love nothing more than to see this versatile linebacker, edge rusher end up in the arms of Mike Vrabel in New England. You know how every year there's a linebacker from Bama that goes in the first round? Well, this year it's going to be Jihaad Campbell. I have him dream landing spot going to the Saints. Realistically, he could drop to the Bucks at like 19, but here's why he'd be a perfect fit for New Orleans. He's that off-ball linebacker. He's very similar to Demario Davis. And is there a better person for Campbell to learn under than Demario? Demario's 36 years old. There's not much time left for him. And so it's a really, really good segue for a guy that is still kind of learning the position. They've got Carl Granderson, who hasn't been fantastic the last couple years. They re-signed Chase Young, but you could move Young interior and then just have Campbell on the outside. Realistically, I think the Saints will feel a little bit weird taking him this high. Maybe they could trade down a couple spots, get some draft stock. They need it. I like Campbell going to the Saints, but he probably falls to the Bucs. Okay, we're not done talking about the Saints because the next defensive player we're talking about, Jahdae Barron, the defensive back out of Texas, and his dream landing spot should absolutely be New Orleans. He's that talented Swiss Army knife DB that can line up in the slot, outside. He can even play safety. And that reminds me of a Saints defensive back, an older one, Tyrann Mathieu. So similar to how we said Campbell could learn from Demario Davis, well, you've got Barron who could absolutely learn from Mathieu. The Saints' biggest issue is their cap space. So how do you fix cap space issues? You draft good young players. Now, the Saints also lost 2 of their starting cornerbacks, so you get a day 1 starter. It really is just going to come down to where does New Orleans prioritize their defensive needs? Because I do think that they get a defensive player in the first round. If it's not the Saints, I think realistically we could see Barron go to the Dolphins at number 13. You need another guy aside from Jalen Ramsey. Who else could that be? It could be Barron, especially because he's ready to go day 1. Okay, next let's talk Will Johnson, the defensive back from Michigan. I have his dream landing spot being the Niners at 11. I also have that being his realistic landing spot. Now, when you look at Will Johnson, he's a really good, pure outside corner. He's great size, 6'2", really good ball skills, good instincts. But the big kind of question mark with him, and the reason he kind of got some, weird buzz during the combine is because he didn't test. So there's a lot of injury concerns with Will Johnson. He missed some time with a toe injury last year. But if all of that is okay, he's a really good fit for San Francisco. Niners have to fix the losses they had this offseason. There's no Charvarius Ward anymore. So who are you going to have outside of Renardo Green? I think Will Johnson would be a really good fit. Okay, next we're going to talk Nick Emmanwori from South Carolina, the big safety. He's that kind of Cam Chancellor type, Derwin James. He's a versatile athlete. He's a big dude. I have his dream landing spot being the Bucs at 19. I think that isn't unrealistic, but I could see him dropping to the Eagles at 32. He'd fit really well with Todd Bowles' scheme. Todd Bowles loves to blitz, and so Emmanwori would be a perfect fit for that. But if the Bucs don't take him, the Eagles could also be a really unique situation because they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They need help at that position. You get a tough, strong athlete like Emmanwori, he'd be a day 1 impact. He's definitely going in the first round. Next up, let's talk Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall. I have his dream landing spot being the Bears at 10. He's a pure edge rusher. You know what you're getting with him. 17 sacks last season. He had 56 total pressures. He looked really good in the Senior Bowl. Biggest concerns for Green is that he's a little bit smaller in terms of hands. He has a pretty low wingspan, but I think that he'd be a really good pair with Montez Sweat. He's a dynamic pass rusher. He's got explosiveness off the edge, but he could fall. If he doesn't go to the Bears at 10, who needs an edge rusher? The Falcons do. So I don't think that he's going past 15, but I think that ideally he'd fit well with Chicago. Okay, speaking of edge rusher, Mykel Williams, edge rusher from Georgia. I have his dream landing spot, realistic spot, being the Falcons at 15. If Atlanta goes and gets any other position besides a pass rusher, just turn off the TV, Falcons fans. It's over. They need help dramatically here. They were second to last in sacks last season. Aside from Leonard Floyd, who has looked pretty bad the last 2 years, they've got no one. Mykel Williams is a day 1 starter. He could be a cornerstone to this Falcons defense for years to come. And if Mike Green isn't there, you go and get Williams. Those are the top 10 defensive prospects I have for this year's class. Their dream landing spot, their realistic spot. Let me know what you think. Who am I leaving off? Where did I go wrong?